to welcome you all here today to our Renal Arts Group event at the very beautiful Queen's Film Theatre. I'm absolutely delighted that we are able to host this event. And my name is Helen Noble, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm a Professor of Nursing from the School of Nursing and Midwifery at Queen's University Belfast. And I'm also co-chair of the Renal Arts Group. And before we start, I just want to say some very grateful thanks. And the first person I want to thank is Dr. Tricia Forbes. Tricia has worked tirelessly at putting this event together today. And as you know, you start off with a simple idea and it becomes quite a big event. And she's been all over the country this weekend sorting things out. So very, very grateful thanks to her. I'd also like to thank Anna Wilson, who's one of our early administrators with RAG and who's now a research fellow and was really very instrumental in making some big changes within the Renal Arts Group. The other groups that I would really like to give grateful thanks to are the charities that we work with, and we've got representatives here today. So the Northern Ireland Kidney Patient Association, Kidney Care UK, and the Northern Ireland Kidney Research Fund. Without your trust in us and belief in what we were doing, we wouldn't be able to progress with events like this and the research that we host in our organisations. So the Renal Arts Group was established about 7 years ago when I was doing some work with a friend and colleague, William Johnston, who's here today. And William also happens to have end-stage kidney disease. And William was coming to hospital 3 times a week, or had previously been coming to hospital 3 times a week for 4 hours at a time to receive renal replacement therapy in the form of hemodialysis. So when you are a kidney patient, it's a really difficult journey that you often encounter that takes up hours of your life being hooked up to a machine. And William was on that journey and finding it difficult, as might be expected, because we know for kidney patients, being on that machine can really impact health and well-being. And William started to write some poetry. And there were a couple of reasons for that. One was to alleviate the boredom of being on hemodialysis for all those hours per week. And we know a lot about the existential boredom that happens for patients receiving renal replacement therapy. But it also helped him to express his emotions. And he felt that by being able to express his emotions, he was able to share with healthcare staff more readily how he was feeling. So I was very honoured to receive this poetry, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. So William and I came up with the idea of bringing together artists, healthcare practitioners, patients, carers, academic staff, and hence the Renal Arts Group was established. And it's grown from strength to strength, particularly during COVID when we were able to expand internationally. And we now have quite a large membership. Anna, Tricia, I don't know, is it maybe 30, 40? Yeah, with people from the Philippines, for example, from the University of Florida. So it's been a great initiative. And recently we received funding from the Northern Ireland Kidney Research Fund to undertake a mapping exercise. So we're in the middle of doing that at the moment. We're looking at what arts-based interventions are being used in renal units across the world. And there's a big questionnaire out around that at the moment, and Tricia's leading on that work. And within that project, we were given funding to collaborate with Chris Bailey at the World Health Organization, and we're delighted that he's here today, and he's going to be giving us a performance a little bit later. But firstly, we're going to start with William Johnston. So I'm going to invite William up. And William, as I said, is a friend and colleague who does happen to have kidney disease, but he's also a playwright. And he's written a number of plays, and he's also written a series of poems that are titled The Loss of Hope Can Drive a Man Insane. And he's written widely about organ donation and the challenges of living with kidney disease. So thank you very, very much, William, for being here today. Come. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you very much for the kind invitation, Helen. I very much consider you a friend and colleague as well. And I'm delighted and honoured to be here as the warm-up act for the esteemed Chris Bailey, which is wonderful to see him in Ireland. Just a quick background to my health journey. I was born with a kidney defect. In fact, I was born with a chronic kidney disease, although I didn't know at the time. But I had a successful operation when I was aged 3 years old. And it was not until I was in 1995, living in London, aged 29 years old, that my kidneys actually failed. And I returned to Northern Ireland to begin my dialysis journey. I had a kidney transplant in 95. It rejected after 2 years. And unknown to me, there was going to be another long wait for another transplant. In fact, there was 17 years of continuous dialysis. During those 17 years of continuous dialysis, I covered all the different dialysis regimes from CAPD, IPD, hospital hemodialysis, home hemodialysis, nocturnal home hemodialysis. So it was almost as if dialysis became a career for myself. I received my second transplant 8 years ago, but unfortunately it's now retiring. I don't like to say it's rejecting or it's failing because the kidney has done me 8 years and I'm very proud of it. And I'll always be very, very grateful to my donors and donor families because they're the ones that make organ donation happen. It was 8 years into dialysis that I suddenly found myself kind of losing hope of ever receiving a transplant, of living life forever waiting for that telephone call to come to let me know that a kidney had been donated and that I was going to get the gift of life. So I'd never written poetry at all in my life, but I just needed to find some way to express my emotions and my feelings and my loss of hope and how to communicate this to medical staff, loved ones, and other patients. And this is why I first started writing the poetry. So I started writing poetry, and I called it "The Loss of Hope Can Drive a Person Insane." This is a series of about 24 poems, which was written whilst on dialysis, or just after dialysis, or after a life-changing event. The poems are written to express various emotions I experienced. These could rate from hope, despair, realization, desperation, frustration, defiance, and fear. This was my first attempt at writing poetry, and therefore the standard is questionable. But I found writing these poems vital for my psychological survival during this journey. This was so therapeutic for me. It let me express my feelings and my emotions. I hope that fellow renal travelers or patients who read these poems can relate to some of the emotions expressed and realize it's all right to have these feelings when living a life of restrictions and constraints and waiting and living an internal hope of freedom. The line, "The loss of hope can drive a person insane," comes from a film that I have watched many times now called The Shawshank Redemption. And the actual line that inspired it is two main characters. There's Red talking to Andy Frisson, who's the prisoner. He's guilty of nothing, but he's in prison. But Red is saying to him, "Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane." So this is why I chose this for the title of my series of poems. My poems are like children to me, so it's hard to select the 4 favorite ones. Each poem has its own character, its own personality, and a message and to be told. Some have stronger voices than others, and I've selected a few of these, but each poem is precious to me and means a lot to me as well. Each poem is written or conceived as soon as an event occurs to stimulate its writing, so the emotions experienced are fresh, authentic, honest, and raw. These are my own personal experiences. I was reading in the paper just recently there about the owner of a football club who was questioning the experience of a manager who was probably out of his league. And he says, "But who educates the uneducated? You can't buy experience. You can't borrow experience. and you can't pretend you've got experience. These are my experiences, and these are what I'd like to share with you today. If we go to the first poem. This was written after a dialysis session in which I was witness to some of the staff talking to patients in not the most respectful way. And I just felt that I had to kind of jot down what I felt, when I was witnessing these patients being spoken to. I attended an induction program just recently, about a week or so ago, for equality, inclusion, and one of the quotes there was that every patient is a person. I would also kind of add to that every patient can be a great educator through the creativity, their own individual creativity. So this is life on Hemo. So here I am on Hemo again, regardless of sunshine, snow, or rain. There's no escape or respite. This is my existence. This is my life. Do you see a person or just a name? Please remember, we're not all the same. Some are young and some are old. We must be here, so we are told. I used to be an athlete and able to run, a life full of potential and endless great fun. But this condition has put my life on hold. My heart is hollow and feels very cold. We live with the shadow of death every day. It takes hidden strength to survive this way. We will relinquish our authority and control, beholding and obedience dictate our life rule. There's no liberty or any shortcut. Channels of freedom are kept firmly shut. No access to travel, work, rest, or play. Our only hope is the transplant day. So please don't judge us on our 3 sessions a week. We are mentally strong but physically weak. We have our family and we have our pride. It's through our love we will survive. This is called The False Dawn. This was written the morning after I'd been called for potentially a third kidney transplant might have come in for me. This was late 90s, early 2000s, when whenever a kidney is donated, the hospital was to invite 2 to 3 patients up, and then it was down to blood and tissue typing to see who the best match was. And one patient would get the kidney, and the other patients would have to just go home. This happened to me 3 times, and just the devastation and the disappointment of not receiving that kidney. Thankfully, nowadays, with modern techniques, I think they only got one patient up and have a reserve patient at home in the event of a kidney being donated. But this was written just after the call. The call from above arrives, which sets me on my way. The voice informs me calmly that this could be my day. A kidney has been donated, which perhaps might set me free. But please remember, William, you're only one of 3. Arriving at the Belfast, at the city hospital, I go to the 11th floor, greeted by a nurse I've met many times before. Each of the patients appear, all with the common plea, let it be my kidney, so maybe I will be set free. Bloods are taken and sent for that all-important test. I send a prayer to God and hope for the very best. I have an ECG and sent for the chest X-ray, so if by a miracle it's my kidney, there will be no delay. Then I'm left to think, and all I can do is wait. The time goes so slowly, and it's getting extremely late. I dream of sparkling rainbows and an elusive pot of gold, but suddenly a nurse appears with a face so stony cold. Time stands still. I gulp for air. I can hear my heart beat. My mind begins to melt and quickly overheats. Is it my turn, or is it God's little game and just another tease? Let it be my kidney. Oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. It's a positive cross-match, the nurse is sorry to have to tell. The door to the promised land slams shut. Welcome back to hell. I turn to my family, who are looking quite full on. Hope disappears, reality hits. It was just another false dawn. So, as you can imagine, the devastation felt, 3 times I thought that I was going to get a kidney transplant. and that I'd escaped from the dialysis unit, but each time I had to return. This is called Flying. It's actually dedicated to my sister, Paula, who has just put herself forward to the paired donor scheme, where she's willing to donate a kidney to a stranger so that a stranger can donate a kidney to me to give me the gift of life. It's also inspired by my father's favorite book, which was Jonathan Livingstone Seagull. My father died quite early. He was 38 years old when I was aged 8 years old. But he had a love of flying, and he was taking his flying lessons when he unfortunately died. So hopefully, with the gift of a kidney, I'll be back flying soon. But this is called Flying. Nighttime, I close my eyes and I'm flying, lifted high and low by the warm breath of compassionate sea airs. The sky is so clear, more in the deep blue ocean far below. The sun is shining brightly, welcoming me to a day of escapism in the sky. My wings are strong and stretched to reveal glorious white feathers, angelic wings that could only have been created in heaven. Here there's no pain or tiredness, just exhilaration, because it's time to make the most of this God-given creation. I stooped quickly to join the game being played by my friends down below. Darting swallows, seagulls, seabirds performing gymnastics, somersaults and cartwheels. Sharp dives and climbs and aerobatic displays, so intricate to make the red owls envious. I feel so free, so liberated, so alive, and I give myself permission to laugh out loud and smile. The world is my oyster, which I have the liberty to explore. Gliding on January's winds, which kiss my feathers to guide me to witness wonders new. I spot the vibrant colors of a playful rainbow, inviting me to chase it to find its pot of gold. I swoop, I dive, I laugh, I smile. But curtains of darkness descend, and I begin to feel that familiar tiredness, fatigue, and pain. Reluctantly and uncontrollably, I tumble head over heels from the sky, losing my fight to stay. My wonderful wings melt and morph into the structure of my chronically ill body. I'm returning to my world of fear, uncertainty, vulnerability, and fragility. Morning, I open my eyes again, and yet again, I find myself grounded. So this is a poem that I wrote, and it's one of the few poems of defiance that I've written. But it's whenever I was diagnosed with renal failure, I was told that I was entering the biggest fight of my life, and that is the fight for life. And so this is kind of written almost in the term of a boxing match, if you can imagine the commentator kind of saying the words. The big fight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the highlight of the night. Introducing in the blue corner, WJ fighting for his life. Introducing in the red corner, chronic kidney disease. Hoping to make WJ beg for mercy, bent double to his knees. CKD throws the first punch with daily fluid restriction. WJ resists and adheres with wholehearted conviction. CKD comes back with restrictions of favorite foods. WJ just laughs as he knows this can only do him good. WJ refuses to buckle and is determined not to be beat. He goes swimming, stays fit. CKD begins to feel the heat. But CKD attacks WJ's mental strength to ground him into the ground. Those promised compatible donors are no longer to be found. Wounded and stunned, WJ searches for new tactics from his corner. Home dialysis programs is introduced, and WJ begins to feel so much stronger. CKD fail to realize that new technology will allow WJ to constantly attack. No matter what CKD throws, the resilient WJ will keep on bouncing back. So bring it on, CKD, you hear WJ proudly shout. Do your very worst, as you'll never knock me out. I'm one patient who will never live in fear, as I'm determined to keep fighting CKD for many more years. And that's a picture of me, age 18, playing rugby, when I had lots of curly hair and a rugby ball. And it just shows me anytime that I doubt whether I'll be able to kind of face the next challenge that comes along in my life, I just have to remember to look at that picture and the determination that I will never let any challenges get me down, and I will always continue to tackle all the challenges thrown at me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. William, thank you, and thank you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you for sharing your beautiful poetry and those really personal insights. I'm sure everyone was as touched as I was, so thank you. And I'd also like to say a huge thank you for your role as co-chair of the Renal Arts Group over the last 6.5 years. It's been amazing working alongside you.